It's another day where the volcanoes are visible, and they are always inspiring. They exhibit the dormant power of the earth, and it's so hidden and yet so present. Very much like the Tao, very much like all those special things in life which are hidden and yet present. I've been thinking a lot about neutrality. Neutrality is a mixed bag subject because some people would think of neutrality in a negative sense, as a not caring about. But neutrality is more in the realm of allowing everything to be as it is without having to meddle with it. Thus, if I have a pain, I have the pain, and I am part and one with that pain. If I have a pleasure, I have a pleasure, and I am one and part with that pleasure. If I'm sitting and looking at this beautiful view, I enjoy it without having any hold on it, without having any desire to maintain it and see it stay that way, because it's a moment thing. Everything's a moment thing. So it allows me to be neutral, and thus I allow all things to be without meddling. How does one live that way? How can one have a relationship that way? How can one love that way? How can one create that way? It is a difficult process in relation to a world that is so geared upon manipulation. Almost all those beings I encounter are trying to manipulate the world so that they will have something better somehow. They'll have a better this, a better that. They will be more famous, they will be more rich, they will have more drugs by doing this thing. In our conversations, they'll talk more about themselves so that I will be convinced that they're wonderful, and thus I will tell others, and thus they can be famous and more rich because I'm telling more people. When I go on YouTube, that's what they're doing too. They're trying to convince me to get something so that I can give them money, so that then they can be more rich and then they can do more stuff. Some people believe that they're doing more stuff, and I would say that's more having to do with corporations. They're doing more stuff is more important than other people doing stuff. So they will trample down and undercut others so that their stuff will be higher and more visible. This happens all the time. It happens in conversations, it happens in social environments, it happens in sports, it happens in life. It is how it is, and I choose not to be in that rat race. I choose to live a neutral life. I choose to be a creative. In creating, the whole process is neutrality. One receives the beautiful inspiration, one expresses it, one enjoys that process, then one lets it go. One doesn't hold on to it. One doesn't speak of it in a way that you want it to be better than somebody else or seen more than somebody else so that you can be rich. It is to just do it and to let it go. that just do it reminded me of Nike and how angry I was when Nike copyrighted that phrase. It was one of my favorite phrases to say when I was young. Just do it. And then Nike placed it on their ads, and that was that. And I don't use it much anymore. It's still as true as ever, but when it's put in a advertisement, stolen, taken out of neutrality and taken into a place of getting, of control, of manipulation, then it loses its value. It becomes a trend, and it no longer has that deep meaning that it once had. This is what all phrases that become trends do. This is what all artists that become trends do. This is what happens to anybody who becomes famous. It is better, or it is more neutral, not to be famous, not to be rich, but to be able to live quite humbly and frugally through one's life, creating forever. This is the best. And added to that, to hold back as much as possible from trying to manipulate others into believing your work or your art or your expression is great and worthwhile of more money and more fame. If one can hold back and one can be humble, one can be retiring and neutral in regards to that and just accept the process of creation as the blessing, then everything will happen. Everything. And everything necessary that will happen. Thus one can allow for whatever happens. Thus I can allow that I am living in Bali, that I am sitting looking at a rice paddy, that I am looking at the volcanoes, that the sky is absolutely crystal blue, that the palm tree right there is swaying to the breeze, that a squirrel is running across the wires, and have true joy in that, not wishing for anything else. And in all my pains, not to say, oh, well, why did I have that pain? Do I deserve this pain? It's not a matter of deserving, it is. I have pain, therefore I am in pain. It's not necessary to broadcast it. It's not necessary to convince others that I'm in pain and that they should feel pity for me. It is to be in the process and to just be neutral to it and accept it as what it is. Just as the pleasure is accepted, just as what it is. When I was at the waterfall about a week ago, maybe more, it wasn't about how beautiful this waterfall is. It was all about being there and being present there. Breathing in the ions, dancing on the rock, enjoying the sun on my back. I don't try to catch that and hold that forever. I know I don't have a phone for that reason. Phones are all about trying to capture things forever, trying to say, oh, I need to remember this, I need to remember this moment. Everything is remembered. Everything. Everything. There is nothing forgotten. Even if one cannot recall it presently. As I cannot recall my childhood, I can't recall some of the pleasurable things that happened to me and the painful things that happened to me as a child. Still, no, I don't have faith. I know that I have not forgotten those things. They are there. The recollection process is what weakens. As I get older, I recollect poorly. I cannot even recollect in the last year a lot of what occurred last year. It is not forgotten, however. It is still in my memory. It will come up at any one moment whenever it wants to, or whenever the occasion nurtures it to. I practice neutrality. I practice kindness, being neutral in kindness. My kindness is full of neutrality. I do not do kindness to gain something from somebody. I do not do good to gain something from somebody. I do goodness because I am neutral in my goodness. I am a good being. I strive for neutral goodness throughout the time. So, as I am understanding even more and more as I get older what neutrality is, I become, and I have become, even more awed by that state of mind, by that state of being. So awed that I want to teach people neutrality. But teaching also is something to be done in neutrality. There is and cannot be a teaching with, I need to teach those people because they need to know this, or I need to teach them because I want to make them better. I need to teach them because they will think of me as a great genius. I need to teach them because they are stupid. It's teaching, and the welcoming of my teaching would occur because somebody wants it, and not because I've pressed it upon them. In fact, I am almost retiring in it. That is the best way to teach. Teachers established by institutions, teachers set up by organizations are not teachers. They are advertisements. They are advertisements for the school. They are advertisements for their intelligence. They are advertisements for all sorts of things. That is not neutrality. Thus, those teachers create major damage in people's minds because they're not open to their students using their teaching in whatever way they need. They want to push their students in the way that they want to have them be as whatever. As a teacher, one needs to be a neutral being. One needs to offer information in a neutral way, not with any expectation or desire for a result, but to be in the process of offering and the other receiving.